Bye.
Hi, my name is Nicole Nagelli, and today I have Tristan Cabral with me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a Filipino-American immigrant storyboard artist. I am a mid-career switch, so I just switched from management. I worked there for about 8 years, and I'm super new to the industry, and I just broke in as a revisionist at Nick.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
All right, here's the icebreaker question. Tell us your favorite quote, but in your own words.
Oh, geez. Well, the quote is really short, so I'm just gonna quote it.
Okay, fine. I
Um,
see how it is.
um, I think it's by Theodore Roosevelt. Comparison is the thief of joy. And I think there's a proper time to assess and in comparison to other people. Um, but there's also it's not all the time. And then so I think just be chill, like know where you're at, like be grateful for what you have,
Mhm.
utilize what you own, and then just keep going. So
That's really good advice. So, I'm curious, why do you do art? Not necessarily like the I've been drawing since I can hold a pencil, since I
no,
was a little baby, but like, what is it filling in your life? Or like, why do you do it?
yeah. Um, yeah, I don't think I've ever been asked that question. That's such a good question. Why do I do art? I think for me, it is a way to process indescribable things when I don't have
Mm,
words to express specific feelings or specific situations. I'll put it into art. Um, or sometimes, let's say I'm just really frustrated or angry, and I'll just pump out something that has a ton of lines. And I'm just, not that I'm even thinking about each line, but I'm just like, I just need to like get it out. And no amount of words can fill that space. It's just me in the act of expressing something through something that comes naturally. And then
ooh.
so, and I think storytelling flows in this in a similar manner of like, I want to be able to convey something. Um, and I'm gonna do it through this story. I'm gonna do it through this storyboard. And so I
Have you
think that's
noticed then, how does your art change as you grow as a person then? You've probably seen
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, for sure. I think what's fascinating is, yeah, so it's grown in mileage. So the more I've done it, the easier certain things um, come. But there's never really like a glass ceiling, I feel like. There's always more to learn. There's always more to, yeah, to engage with. And so um, every season of my life, I think engages with art very differently.
Yeah, I
But
was just
but
about to ask.
also like things that I like. There are stories that I or things that I used to do when I was a kid that still participate in how I create art now. So it's not that like, okay, I'm done with that season, I'm not gonna do it that way anymore. It's actually like it's evolving with me.
Wow, that is very, very cool. Um, do you think it's something that if you didn't have art, maybe you try like doing the same thing through, I don't know, looking at different kinds of trees? That was a great example. Hey, do you like
Hmm.
trees?
Wow, that trees. That quote kind of
Or
reminds me
I'm
of that
thinking
song
like
from Dear Evan Hansen.
I know. Oh my gosh, there's a movie coming out, and I didn't
I
know Ben
know.
Ben was playing like the main character, but he looks like he's 40, not a high school child. Like I
Yeah,
I am a high
he's
school child.
trying. He's trying.
Good effort, Hollywood. But yeah, I'm trying. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, would anything fill the
The art
role
void.
that, yeah, the art void, the role you have for doing art? Do you think?
Um, I don't think so, but I do know that there are things that uh, there are ways to express certain things that I can't do through art that I do. I'm a singer that like when
Oh,
I
I saw your
sing,
raindrops thing on your Instagram story this morning. Your voice is so nice.
oh, thank you. But when I'm just like, gosh, I even art can't express what I'm feeling. I tap into other natural things. And so singing is one of those things where I'm just like, I need to express this through music or cooking. Um, I need to like de-stress through cooking that participates in the stress differently than doing art. And so I don't think I have anything that will replace it, but I do know that there are other avenues that I like interact with.
How has being a singer influenced your art? Has it influenced it in any way?
Oh yeah. So when I was a kid, and I still do it now, not as much, but when I was a kid, I used to listen to music and I would like break it down in my mind. And then I would direct like a music video and like
Oh.
even draw it out as a comic. And so I used to do that all the time. But even now, as I think about storyboarding, when I think about like animatics and timing and editing certain things, I think understanding music has helped me understand timing and editing. So,
That's really cool. I'd love to know like more about your journey. Like what was it like as an immigrant and like changing careers? Like I'm the child of immigrant parents I was talking to you about and I have like
mhm.
so much respect. Those people, you can just pack up your whole life and like move to a new country. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, that takes a lot of strength.
yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about the immigrant part and then the mid-career switch, another part later. Yeah, I think the how does immigration and how has having immigrated impacted how I view and see art? Um, I think that I just handle not art per se, but I handle processes differently. Um,
Ooh, what do you mean by that?
yeah, like when a I th- uh, as an immigrant when I moved here, um, there were there were all these rules that like were unsaid that I had to learn by myself. And so I had to be adaptable really fast. So the skill of being adaptable, I've learned as a kid. And I would say I'm a very, very adaptable artist now because I can read the room, I can um, understand dynamics really well, and I could just see the underflow of what needs to happen in a certain process.
Oh wow.
So that's organizationally. Another thing I think is I just know how to hustle, like and hustle and not. I think there is an unhealth to certain hustling, like just working unendlessly. But I think I've grown to understand how to do it healthily, of like
Oh,
when
how
to
do
take
you do it
breaks, when
healthily?
to yeah. I think it you need to be able to you need to learn how you function when you need to take a break, um when you are grinding in the work out of fear of like I need to produce this much because I need to prove my worth. I think that's as an immigrant, you're always trying to prove your worth. And I think there came a switch for me where I'm like, actually, like, yeah, yeah, I think there are ways to really push and strive for something that's excellent without at the cost of your own health and at the cost of your own, like, yeah, just self-care. Um I think it's important to know your boundaries of, okay, this is how hard I actually can work. This is what is healthy and this is what is unhealthy. And so it takes a lot of time to learn about how you function as an individual and how you function as an individual in a large group, which we will be doing because we'll be working for corporations and teams. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. How do you feel about the future? Like, because you're just starting out now, do you feel like more excited or scared? Is there anything that you're really looking forward to?
In the future, in regards to,
Oh, just anything. It's
okay,
more like in general, in terms of like art and life.
yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, having just broken into the industry, I think I'm just really learning the landscape of how everything works. And I'm still in that honeymoon phase of like, wow, everything's so wonderful, and not everything's wonderful, like that's for sure. But I do
Mhm.
think that I'm in that whimsical stage of like, man, like we're pumping out stories and the stories are amazing, and we're at a phase, I think, in awareness as a nation where we're like, okay, like different stories matter, and that wasn't really platformed a few years ago. And so I'm more curious as to where storytelling will go. um but there's an excitement to that. So
Is there anything that you're not looking forward to?
is there anything that I'm not looking forward to? um
For me, it's
yeah.
taxes.
Texas. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I hire someone every year because I
Oh,
don't
no.
want to do it. I'm lazy. What am I not looking forward to? I think such a hard question. I
It's okay.
think
Take all the time you need.
okay. I think I I I think at some point in my career, I'm gonna end up in a really bad team. A team
Oh,
like badly managed team.
uh-huh.
I think that's just kind of a norm in the industry, is like you either have like really good execs or like, and like maybe like a bad manager, or like a really good manager, and then like execs are really tough on you. And so I'm so blessed to like have landed such a bomb like team, my it being my first team. And so I'm scared that like when the time comes where I'm like, oh no, this is really hard, eject. And so,
Are you more excited or scared for that? Because it's like, you don't know who, or like, you don't know who you'll be by the time that happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, yeah, I think there's an excitement to, okay, I'm still moving forward in this art journey. Like I can't, like that fear of getting there will not stop me from continuing. And so I think there is that excitement of like, okay, we just got to keep going. Um, and but yeah, I think there there is that like apprehension of like, oh no, like will my next team be as good as this first one? Because this first one was really good. So
You were messaged me something about like something that you're working on, the structure or something.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that.
yeah. So I come from a management background, and for the last 8 years, I've just learned and picked up skills in regards to creating structures, creating things that is helpful for groups of people to latch onto.
So by
And
structures, what do you mean? Like how
yeah,
school,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you have classes or schedules or something?
Yeah. So structures as in like, yeah, anything from like group, like creating new groups, working groups, to yeah, classes, to creating events and stuff, like I just understand how to set those things up.
Oh,
And
cool.
so throughout the last year during quarantine, something that I really noticed in my classes is a lot of people were like, oh man, like now all of a sudden I have no structure. Like I have no structure to manage my growth, to manage my like art skills, to do a lot of things. And I think it knocked a lot of people out, which is fair, like like totally understandable. And so I actually ended up creating a group, a artist group, where I kind of managed or yeah, created this structure where people, we replicated our class structure of every 5 weeks we're going to be pumping out storyboards, and I kind of replicated it so that this small group of storyboard artists can continue to grow together throughout the quarantine. And something that I realized is that if we didn't have that group, we would be in very different spaces. Actually, four of us now have jobs.
Oh, wow.
And
Congrats.
I think that group was helpful in getting there. And so I'm actually creating something that is, and I don't, yeah, it's just in the beginning phase, but I'm creating like a how-to guide of like, well, like you're kind of stuck and you need to maintain momentum. Um,
So, meaning in terms of like animation or like in
yeah,
life?
and animation, yeah.
Oh, cool.
So if yeah, let's say you're a storyboard artist and
Mhm.
you are just kind of stuck and not creating anything. Sometimes it's helpful to do it with other people. And so I kind of want to create a how-to guide of like, okay, how do you create that group and maintain it?
Ooh.
How do you like what how do you build expectations so that you are as a group continuing to maintain a certain level of like striving and growth? And it's super ambiguous. Like I'm still
Mhm.
trying to write it down, but I, I think what we created last year during quarantine was really special. And I think it can be doable by a lot of people. I think people just wouldn't really know how to start.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think Rise Up has the similar kind of idea, but I'd love to see more
yeah,
platforms like yours, like geared more towards, okay,
yeah.
how exactly do you do that kind of stuff? That's very interesting.
The way that I'm writing it is that it's geared for very like a small group of people, um, so that it's manageable and helpful. So
So since you used to be in management and you were talking about like your experience as an immigrant, how did you how did you get so good at like reading a room or figuring out like different kinds of people or how they work? How do you manage a team so that like you're all going towards one goal? Because I've like like being in like
yeah,
school group projects, it's like if one person's always doing the work, or like
yeah,
if one person gets jaded, the whole group gets jaded, or like how
right,
do you manage that? Or
yeah.
do you have experience with that?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I've learned that when you start a group, what it's really helpful and is to cast ownership of the group. I think what people misunderstand about groups is that everyone assumes that everyone is owns the group, everyone participates in the group equally, but actually only one or two people ends up being responsible for the group. Something that's really helpful in the beginning when you start something like the group that I started last year was we made it very clear that if you're part of this group, you own this group, and that your participation, the frequency of your participation is necessary to maintain everyone's momentum. So there's an ownership to that that I think was necessary, and people understood that from the beginning. And it just kind of gave people, um, I think when people can claim something, they can feed into it more freely than I'm just gonna participate and I could
Mm.
show up when I want to show up. It's like no, like this is yours as equally as it is mine. So your presence is actually really important. And then we created, I think what's important is we created a rich feedback culture. We expected that we would be communicating in, especially in art, because you're collaborating so much and you're throwing out ideas all the time. Getting to learn how to give feedback is necessary. And so we practice that a lot. And so that kind of gave people ownership of like, cool, wow, my feedback is important for Tristan's growth. I want to participate in that just as much as his feedback is important in my growth. And so ownership was really something that we set from the start.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just thinking back to different classes that I've taken too and trying to see the differences. Like, for example, I took a class by Mike Randa, the guy who made Mitchell's
Mhm,
versus the Machines, and
mhm,
I guess he employed some of the strategies that you're talking about now, because I was very engaged in that class. But then I've
mhm.
taken like other classes where it's like, I dropped out after like 2 weeks because I was like, I don't really care. Nobody really cares, so I'm just gonna go. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's very interesting to hear like sort of like the science behind it. It's very interesting.
yeah, yeah. I love I love being able to see how group dynamics work, um, and kind of, yeah, just kind of participating in that.
Has
And
that
so,
helped you? I'm curious because you probably have experienced a lot of different kinds of people too. Um, has that affected the kinds of stories that you write too? Are any of them, does it make it easier to write character stories, or how does that affect your process?
what specifically affects?
Your ability to like read people or manage people.
I think being able to read people, there's like a certain sense of like empathy that comes with that. Of like, can I understand where they're coming from? um do I understand like the stories that will impact them and will make them laugh? I think part of being a storyboard artist, specifically in comedy, is like you're telling jokes and you're trying to read the audience as much as you can, of like, okay, well, that joke landed. That was really good. Maybe I'll tell a different joke, but like in a similar vein. And so I think for sure being able to understand your audience or like the room is going to be helpful in writing stories.
I know we both have a pretty similar mindset of not waiting for permission from others. You
Hmm.
just messaged me with the quote, why wait for the doors to open? Build the door yourself.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what inspired you to have that kind of mindset? Is it something that you always had, or is it something that you had to like cultivate and develop?
Yeah, I think that for sure comes from my story as an immigrant, where um yeah, when I moved here from the Philippines, moved here, yeah, from the Philippines, um there were just all of these cultural societal rules where I'm just like, I don't, no one's teaching me anything. And I spent a lot of time waiting to learn those things from people. And I just got to the point where I'm like, this culture in some ways, or society or school system, is not really built for me, um, in the way that it's built for people who've always lived here. And so I just got really good at creating doors for me to learn the thing that I want to learn. I didn't want to wait any longer. And so um yeah, I think that's how I picked it up. Um and then so I'm a very impatient person. Like if I want something, I'm gonna go get it. If I see that it's achievable for me, then I'm gonna go work really hard to do it. If I think that there's a glass ceiling for someone like me, I'm gonna go see if I could create a door to go beyond that. I'm just not gonna wait for success to come to me. I'm gonna go get it.
Ooh, now that's a quote. That's very cool.
Yeah.
What is your creative process like right now? How do you think that it'll change in the future? Maybe like 50 years from now when you've been
50
doing
years. Uh-huh.
storyboarding and like your fingers are like
Oh
I don't
no.
know, old and like falling off, but she's still like drawing. I don't know.
I hope I still have fingers. Um, yeah. How is so the question is how is my process now and how is it
Yeah, how do you
growing?
think that it's like what is your creative process like right now? And then the
Yeah,
second part of the question is like how do you see that changing like in the future?
sure.
Like as you gain more
Um,
experience?
yeah, so first question, how's what is my process now? Honestly, I feel like a lot of my process right now is what experiences have I experienced in the past? And how could I write stories based off of those situations or emotions? Like right now, I'm writing a story, um, and I'm trying. It's very tender, but I'm trying to make it like really funny. But I'm writing a story about what it was like to leave my best friend when I moved from the Philippines to here, and that like last interaction. And I think that's very me because as an immigrant that I had to do that. But I think the saying of goodbye, like goodbye to loved ones or someone that you care about, everyone understands that. And then so, but yeah, I think I latch on to very strong experiences, and I'm like, okay, I think that it is very specific, but I do think that that feeling is universal. So I'm gonna go expand on that,
That's really
and
interesting.
try to tell it the way that I want to tell it. So
How do you expand on that, or how do you say, okay, I have this feeling and this experience. How do I mine a story from this? What's
yeah,
your process like in terms of that?
yeah, I think I mean each story requires a different process. I think with this one specifically, I thought about okay, what are the like core emotions that like I could really tap into and latch onto, and that will then be the let's say the well that I draw from when I create art. And then in regards to details, like what does this character look like, to what did this what is his personality like, I base that off of people that I know. Like one of the characters is straight up based off of me, and then the other character is based off of like a mixture of like my best friend in the Philippines slash like a few friends here in the US. And then I'm drawing inspiration from yeah like um environments that I saw in the Philippines. And then so yeah, I think but for me the core is that emotion, that universal feeling of having to say goodbye. But for me specifically, it was that last interaction before I immigrated, which makes it very specific. And then I just kind of build from there.
So it's a very powerful story. How do you think, maybe just for this story, let's say, I don't know, what's old to adults? It's like
What's out to
50.
adults?
I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah,
learning times. Okay, let's say you're 50 years old
sure.
and you decided to make that story now. How would you think that your 50-year-old self would go about doing that? Do you think it would be different?
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I maybe most likely. I think I would be. I hope that I would be a much better storyteller when I'm 50. It would be very sad if I'm still the same storyteller. Um, or I think I'll still be me, but the skills that I employ will be very different. And so I think it'll be very much more refined. But I
Do you
think
think
it would
you'll
still be a very similar story.
do you think you'd choose to like maybe your 50-year-old self would be like focus more on the emotional stuff or um the environment or different kinds of aspects of the story that maybe you don't do now?
Um, yeah, I think I would probably make it even more specific, much more nuanced um, than now. I think the reality is right now I've only been storyboarding for a year. I could only employ the skills that I have picked up in a year. When I'm 50, I would have gained 20 to 30 years worth of like experience, and so I could just fine tune that like crazy and really get to the deep stuff faster, more clearer. um so
That's really cool. Oh my gosh. I have another question. So let's say that like I'm just very interested in like that's the reason why I started doing these this series of interviews. So
Yeah.
let's say like 50-year-old you like makes the movie. What do
Sure.
you think your reaction would be if you saw it? Or like what
Ooh.
yeah, like yeah, because sometimes you make stuff or like Dana
Yeah.
Terrace or whoever like these really successful people, they wish they could like go back or something or like show it to their younger self. Right
Hmm.
now, you are the younger self.
Hmm.
What do you think you'd get out of seeing your 50-year-old self say, like, look at this?
So the scenario is if the my 50-year-old self traveled back in time
They're like, watch
and
this
showed me
movie.
and showed me his version of what I'm writing now.
Yeah, basically,
Ooh,
yeah.
that's a really good. I think I would be very I think I'll be very emotional and being like, wow, this story has transcended and but yeah, it has transcended or that's not the right word. It has maintained its truthfulness. It has maintained that that moment was really important to us as an individual, and that I have grown to tell it in a much more powerful way by the time I'm 50. And then so I think I would be very touched to be like, yeah, that story is still just as stories like Cinderella and Pinocchio, like we still people still watch those because it's like those are timeless. I think that story, if my 50-year-old self showed me that story, I would be like, that's timeless because I think it's still relevant. We still say goodbye to friends in different ways, but it's still that core emotion of like, I'm sad that I have to say goodbye is gonna always be true.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You should keep this so like when you'll just like a
Maybe,
scheduling
maybe,
email, just send
maybe
it to
I
your 50-year-old
will.
self.
Maybe I
That would
will.
be
Yeah,
very
when I'm
fun.
50, be like, okay, yeah, I remember that interview. I'm gonna rewrite this.
Oh my
Maybe I'll
gosh.
make it into a short.
Yeah,
You know?
that would be great. Do whatever. Oh my gosh, I love this. This is great. What is the one project or idea or dream job that you feel like you're meant to tell or
Ooh.
you'll regret not doing? It's a big question, so take all the time you need.
Yeah, no, I've thought about that a lot actually. Um, one, I don't want to be a showrunner. Like that's just not me. But I do want to direct, and I do want to be. I think my mentor is a supervising producer. I kind of want to rise up to that level. But I do have this story that I've always wanted to tell, and it's in a very similar vein to the story that I'm actually telling now. But I think the immigrant story is just so powerful. And at some point, I want to produce um, this transition from, and I'm just gonna say the Philippines because that's very real for me. This transition, this family's transition from the Philippines to America, and actually track that. Of okay, let's say season one. Season one, it's them saying goodbye. Um, but each episode actually tracks with a family member. What does the mom who does the mom say goodbye to? How does she say goodbye to her childhood like village or whatever? How does the dad say goodbye? Who does he say goodbye to? How does the first child say goodbye? Like how do they say goodbye to their grandparents? Every single one of them says it differently, but we
Hmm.
track the same story but from different perspectives.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
and
that's
then
very
let's say
cool.
season two is you're there, you're now in America. And we then track each episode the same story of like, but how did how did the child um navigate the first month? How did the mom navigate the first month? How did the dad navigate the first month? I think that would be fascinating.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Like, there's definitely like not enough media out there for people who are immigrants. Like my parents are immigrants, and just seeing them like the I was yeah, I grew up here, so I'm first generation, but just seeing like the impact that that has and like enormous strength People don't talk about that, or it's
Yeah.
not even mentioned in like movies and TV. I would love to see that. Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, and I think to do it in an animation would be really profound because I think people uh don't think that children need to watch these. I think children can, and I think they could understand, wow, this is, let's say, their first, second, or even third generation.
Hmm.
They, what if it gets them to think like, wow, that's what my grandma went through? Like that would be so
Oh,
powerful,
that'd be so
like
cool. Oh my
that would be
gosh.
so cool. And it bridges this gap and allows them to have conversations that maybe they've never been able to have before. I think kids need to watch shows like that.
Yeah,
um
especially. I think Elizabeth Ito was talking about this with her show City of Ghosts.
oh yeah.
Yeah, her
Woo!
show does that like really,
Ugh.
really well. Oh my God.
What a healing show it
I
was for me.
know. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic, and it's a kids show.
Yeah.
Adults can watch it too. That's oh my God. Yes, if you ever make that, I want to see more people make that kind of stuff. It's so fantastic. Cuz also the thing is like um people who come from maybe people who are immigrants, like maybe they can't express how they feel that much,
Hmm.
or at least not
Hmm.
unless it's their native language. So
Hmm.
by
Hmm.
giving that, you'd be giving a voice to people. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. That's really
Yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You better make that. I'm keeping you accountable.
Oh, keep me accountable. Yeah, no, that's kind of the dream. Yeah, again, I don't want to be a showrunner because that sounds really stressful, but I want to be able to pitch that around and be like, I think that's something that kids need to understand. Or even like, let's say you are from here, your family has always been in America, but you have friends from Mexico,
Mhm.
and you watch that show and it's like, wow, that they just went through that. Like what? Like
Yeah, it
the
gives so much
the
like empathy.
the empathy that kids could have simply because they've been told a new story. Wow, how powerful.
Oh, that's so great. I love that so much. What do you not get, or what are you trying to understand about the animation industry right now?
What do I not get? Ooh, there's a lot of things that I don't get. um, I think I don't get the I don't get the imbalance of, or I don't get the gatekeeping of like stories. Like why do we only keep producing similar stories? Like I feel like the world is getting to a point where one, it's necessary because it's creating so much division to only be telling a story from one perspective. But two, I think we're getting to the point where um the industry will just make a ton more money. Like let's just talk about purely business. Like
Yeah.
you're opening up your business now to people who you're crafting it now for their needs. And yeah, I think from a purely business and managerial perspective, to think of your audience and be like, okay, we're gonna create this thing for you so that you keep coming back. Um, that doesn't make sense to me as to why it's taking us so long, and
Yeah.
will continue to take so long to to um to have to convince people, the people who really have the money, that um it is one, important, two, necessary, three, doable, and will still make you money.
And profitable. They like to
Exactly.
hear that. Yeah, I was talking to the showrunner and he was explaining about like in all these panels and he's like, "You guys could be making so much more money if you
Exactly.
just weren't like this. Why can't you be normal?"
Yeah.
But yeah, totally. It's like there are like so many other people in the world other than like America, Europe, and like Italy. Well, Europe, Italy is a part. You can tell I'm
No,
American, right?
yeah, we'll corner Italy. Like,
It's
yeah.
Italy, Europe, and Italy.
Italy.
All right. Wow, that's really cool. what is something that you really want to try in the future? Like directing a movie, making a
Oh,
game, um,
oh,
I don't know, meeting Tony
yeah.
Hawk and doing skateboard tricks with him. I don't know.
I in the immediate sense, I want to make a comic. So that's within the next like year or two. Long term, I want to be able to direct. Um, yeah, I think that that would make me really, really happy. Um, and I think it will make my family like really, really proud.
Aw, that's very
um,
sweet.
yeah, I just want to come home and be like, look, dad, like, look, mom, like, I'm a director now. I think that'd be really almost bizarre of like, I just came again, I came from management, not literally a month ago, I was managing. Um, and then now to be able to be like, oh yeah, like I am on a path to directing. Like, how bizarre is that?
Yeah, that must have been absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're trying to make a comic in the next year. That's really interesting. Is it gonna be like a web comic? Is it gonna be like you're gonna post it on your Instagram or like a book or a graphic novel? What's it gonna be about?
Oh, I think I'm gonna start small and do just like a bunch of like Instagram comics. But I do think that I want to create like a zine at some point, so that people can like have a physical copy. I think that'd be really cool. I don't have like a ton of strong ideas currently to make a zine, but I think within the next year my skills will skyrocket enough to be able to like, okay, cool. Now I understand how this would be doable.
Yeah, totally. Like when you definitely don't have to wait until you're good either. Like my
Mm-mm.
first book was like when I was 12, and
Yeah,
obviously that's very different to like now or who I'll be in the future. And the
yeah,
story was like, yep, a 12-year-old definitely wrote this. It's cute. It's cute. It's about
yeah,
cats. It's very
yeah,
adorable. But
yeah.
yeah, I love like who's that guy? The guy who made We Bare Bears.
Yes. And
Daniel? Yeah, I think so. He made his thing a web comic first, and then they
mhm,
turned it into a show. That's like very
yeah,
cool. I love people that just don't wait. They're like, I'm gonna do this now, and then they
yeah.
do it.
I gotta stumble through this.
Mhm.
So,
What is your favorite or best thing that you've created right now so far in your
oh
life?
gosh, yeah. Um, well, the thing that I am most proud of that I've created is this story. It's on my website. It's the last storyboard that I created, and it's about this boy who goes into this cave in search of a pearl because his culture was like, you must slay like these mer people and take their
Oh wait,
pearl.
yes, I've seen this. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and to me, I was very proud of that because I subverted the idea, and actually the merman um w- was the main character. You think that it would be the boy and this like heroic journey, but actually it was this merman who's like, hey, actually what you're doing is wrong. And like you've slain every, like you have come and taken from my people, and you don't understand what this is doing. And the reason why I'm so proud of it, because it really draws from my own personal stories in regards to like racism, to
Mhm.
having to navigate that and the unfairness of that. Because the boy's response is, well, this is what we do. We've always done this. Like it is what it is. And the merman's response is like, you don't understand. Like, get out. Like, I do not have energy for you. Just take this damn like this pearl and go. And then there's this neat twist in the end that I won't share if people want to see it. But I think it's really important. For it was a really important story for me to be like, this is how I experience like racism and cultural appropriation and all that stuff. And to have done that in a cartoony way, I think is really important for me because I always want, not everything that I do will have purpose, but I think that one needed to have that depth.
Yeah, I was reading that as I was eating breakfast today, and I was like, "Whoa!" because I was expecting like the guy left, and I was like, why isn't the camera following him? And I was like, wait a minute. I had
Yes.
to read the whole thing like twice. It was really, oh my gosh, it was really, really good. That was like,
Thank you.
I really like the mix of ideas because it's like cartoony and it's like, oh, cool, he's going on a journey. But then it's like, it's kind of like what Elizabeth does. Like, there's depth, so much depth in it. It's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who influences you right? Whoa. Who influences you right now? And what would you say if you met them? Or like if they were like, hey, ask me anything and I'll teach you. What would you like to learn from them?
Oh
Even if like
man.
they're not here, like dead or alive or old or
Yeah.
like wherever.
Ooh, who influences me? Well, I'm very lucky to have found a mentor who like kind of walked me through the last 6 months of like learning how to storyboard. His name is Jim Mortensen, and he really like set the stage of like um this is the level of like expertise you need to get to, and I'm gonna help you get there. But even the way that he cares and thinks about um the craft is really fascinating to me. And he's this really interesting mixture of like I come from management, and I'm heading towards art, where his current role is management and art. And
Ooh,
then so I'm
okay.
just like, oh, you're kind of this like really unique like mixture of like I want to do that. And so I just feel very blessed to have rubbed shoulders um with him. Is that the term?
I
Um
have no idea.
and I'm actually on the show that we're on, so I still continue to like talk to him. But I think from for me, who's very specifically come from management, I'm not gonna let go of those skills that I've learned for the last 8 years. I'm gonna take it with me in this art journey. I think Jim kind of creates this picture of like, here's how you can do it. Like here is the level that you could reach for. And so
That's really, really interesting. What never
I will wait.
fails?
Can I
Ooh,
go back to that question?
yeah.
I will say if there was one person that I could like just pick their brain and be like, God, like I want to even just get the a small piece of your essence, I would say it would be Beyonce. Like I'm a
You
huge
know
like
what's so
you.
funny? Literally,
Uh-huh.
the last person I was interviewing 15 minutes before this,
Uh-huh.
we just went on this whole tangent about that too. It was so funny, yeah.
I the homecoming that like on Netflix, the amount of hard work she put into that was just mind blowing. And I remember just being in a slump last year, especially with how hard COVID was, with everything that was happening culturally. I was just like, I don't want to create anything. This is so hard. And I would put on Homecoming, and I'm like, yeah, like time to get back to writing because like I gotta create these doors for myself. So I think she would be a really interesting creative and manager to really be like, okay, um, wow, I just want to be and bask in the power.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. What never fails to ignite passion in your work?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a really good question. There comes a point for me when um even like I will feel unmotivated. I will feel unhappy about my own work. And I would not want to draw. What actually reignites that every single time is being with friends who are also creating. And when like the other day I was hanging out with a bunch of storyboard artists, and we were just talking about like how fun the animation industry is, um and talking to them, I kind of caught that lightning again. I was like, oh, like this conversation makes me want to go back and draw. Like any like so talking to friends just and kind of just like talking about all the fun stuff that we watched, things that inspired us, like that will always reignite that passion for me of like, okay, like time to go back and draw. Like I want to do
Yeah,
that.
for
So
sure. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, definitely. Like whenever I look, that's one of the reasons why I started the series because there's so many talented young artists like you and like so many other people that are just like doing stuff constantly, and I'm like, whoa, you make me want to do stuff when you do stuff, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's so cool. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And that's why I wanted to I'm gonna create that like structure that I talked about earlier. Because I think to be able to create groups like that where you're constantly give like feeding off of each other, I think it's really 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 hard for artists in animation particularly to just work in a silo, to just work by
Hmm.
yourself. I think I think there comes a point when it's necessary for you to actually then participate in like a group setting.
Yeah, yeah, for
um
sure.
so
I'm curious, have you talked to the guy who made Rise Up Animation? He's also a really good artist. His name is Bobby Pontius, I think. I
I
hope I'm
haven't
thinking
talked.
of the right
Yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah.
Because
I
I
mean, I
think he would
haven't
be,
talked to him personally. I would love to,
yeah.
because I really, I mean, he's an immigrant too, and
Hmm.
he's Filipino, and I really, really enjoy his story. And so,
Yeah,
oh,
you should.
I think backtrack to that question that you asked earlier. I would love to meet him.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you should definitely
If
talk
you're
to.
listening to this, please talk to me.
Oh, hi, Bobby. But yeah, you should definitely go talk to some of those people. I think they'd really be able to like help you out. Yeah, people
Sure.
are so nice in the
Yeah,
animation industry. Like
yeah,
I'm like so mind blown. Like I'm just like a 17-year-old kid, but everybody's like been treated me with like a level of like respect or whatever,
yeah,
and it's really really nice and kind that they're giving their time. It's
for
great.
sure, for sure. Yeah.
When are you happiest when you're making something? Like what part of the process are you like, "Whoa, yeah, let's go."
Yeah. Um, that's a really funny question. Great question. It's when I am taking a script and roughing it out for the first time. And all my friends kind of like know that I do this, but I will giggle, and I'm so corny, but I will giggle at my own jokes. And when I think it's funny, and I was like, yeah, that's gonna stay. Like, and so I get that the most when I'm roughing it out, trying to feel out the jokes, trying to feel out the acting, trying to feel out the staging. That I enjoy the most. I
That is
hate
very fun.
cleaning. I hate cleaning up my boards because it's so tedious.
Yeah, 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 for sure. It's like so much easier to be like, I don't know. That's why I feel like for especially like personal projects that I'm working on and stuff, if it's good enough, if it's clear and it has like the basic thing, then I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
What are your strengths and weaknesses right now in your work, would you say?
Um, my strengths. I would say one of my strengths is I'm a very organized thinker. I could think very clearly as to, okay, this is what I need. This is how I'm gonna get there. This is how much time I think I'm gonna get there. It'll take me to get there. Um, this is what I'm missing. This is what, yeah. So I'm a very organized, methodical thinker. Not the best in every situation, but I think for the most part, I could get things done because I'm so organized. Um, I I also, yeah, I think there is an advantage to being so new in the industry where I'm like, I don't know the rules. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do. and
Hmm.
um and I'll learn the rules later. Like and then so I think um yeah, so that's kind of been really fun to kind of just stumble through work, and kind of figure it out along the way. Weaknesses, I think on the flip side, I am so new. Like there's so much. I think I've just really recently realized, okay, oh, this is the main difference between a revisionist and a storyboard artist.
Oh,
Like
wow. Yeah.
it's very vast, and no, there's no straight path to it. It's just like a, here's the 10 billion things that you need to learn, now go do it.
Yeah, for
And then
sure.
so I wouldn't say it's maybe it's less a weakness, it's more of a reality. um and then so a weakness in particular for me, I think, um I think I'm not the funniest person, and I think I'm not very funny at all. And everyone who's commented, they're like, actually, like, Tristan, no one thinks they're funny. Like, it really depends on your audience. And so, but I'm always like, I just want to be funnier. Like, can I just be funnier? And so I think I beat myself up a lot for being like, oh, I need to push this. This needs to be funnier. I don't know how to make it funnier. So
Is there a project or something that you're putting off because of fear?
because of fear, yes. Yes, there is. Do you
Pray
want me
tell.
to?
And the next
Why
question,
would you ask
or
me
like,
that
what is that the
question?
meme that like you like hear heavy breathing is like,
Yes.
next question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think,
you don't have to share if you don't want to, by the way. It's
sure.
totally
Yeah.
fine.
No, I'll share a generic answer. Just as I really enjoy telling stories from a really like real experience, I think there are experiences that I have that I want to tell eventually. I'm scared that I won't be able to capture um, that situation, whether it be because I'm just starting out and I need to fine tune my skills,
Hmm.
to, oh, that was a really hard situation and I'm not ready yet to share, but I do know that it's an important thing that people go through, and so I'm afraid to like share. um so yeah, I think there are two particular very specific stories that I do want to tell eventually. But I'm purposely holding off because I'm afraid that it's not yet time for
What do
me.
you think is the worst case scenario that you're imagining when you think, oh no, what is the worst case scenario
Yeah.
that could happen with these ideas?
Yeah, I think um for a story to come out prematurely, because my skills aren't quite there yet to tell the story how I would want it to, I think that maybe fear isn't the strongest emotion, but I think I would be very bummed that I told this story and it didn't land the way that I wanted it to land. Because it's coming from a very vulnerable place, and it's almost saying something to someone and they mishear it, and it's
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
do you want me to say it again? like,
Yeah.
like, do I have to tell you all the details again? So I think I want to get I just want to get better. I think yeah, I want to get better at the craft before I tell certain stories. Um, so
Is there any artist that you'd really love to collaborate with in the future? Maybe when your skills catch up to wherever you think they should be?
yes, ooh,
Beyonce?
oh, I just want to be in a room with her. Um, you know, I would really, 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 really love to work on a music video.
Ooh.
um, to animate a music video, whether it be a small piece or not. And I would love to work with Bruno Mars. Like, I would love to work with Bruno Mars. I actually did, and I don't even know if it's on my portfolio anymore, but I did this. It is on YouTube. You can watch it. But I did this animatic, and I rewrote the song Versace on the Floor. um and I did this animatic because of this music video of like the first 60 seconds of it. And I think it's just really fun, it's really funny. I love where Bruno took it dynamically, and so yeah.
That's very cool. The future is very bright.
Yes.
What advice do you think that your older self would give you right now?
Um, chill. You need to chill. Like, um, you don't need to always be striving for the next big step. Like you just reached you broke into the industry in 1 year. Like that's already like that's
That's pretty
great.
insane. That
That's
like
really
never happened.
that's great. Chill. Like and I feel like I'm always trying to tell myself, it's like, okay, how often can I chill? Oh no, no, no. Like I could see the next step so clearly. Why would I wait?
Yeah. Hmm.
I think that clarity can bite me in the butt though, of like, well, like, did I need to go that hard? I don't know. I don't know. But I think by the time I'm 50, if I continue this trajectory of like, that step is so clear, every single step is going to be so clear. By the time I'm 50, if I'm tired and exhausted and burnt out, my burnt out self would be like, you need to chill. So,
Yeah, I was just about to ask. The next question is kind of flipping that on its head. What advice would you give to your older self?
what advice would I give to my older self? Spend time with family, spend time with friends. Like, yeah, that I think by the time I'm 50, and this is just me projecting, but I think I would be a very successful I would continue to be a hardworking person. And I think the higher you go up in this industry, the more responsibilities you have, and the easier it is to forget the really important things, the people. And
Mhm.
then so I think I would tell my 50-year-old self, like, are you making sure that you're prioritizing the right people?
What's the most fearless thing that you've ever done? And that doesn't have to be art. It can be just like in
Yeah,
general.
yeah. Well, uh, um, a group of friends and I went to Egypt um, in 2011. And it was kind of crazy because the government shut down. We were there
Oh, oh.
and we were like, well, we're going to go see the pyramids. Well, we're going to go see, like, do all these touristy things when the government was shut down. So it was maybe fearless isn't the right word. It was more crazy. But I was just in a very adventurous time in my life. And so I went with a bunch of friends and we were there. And so, and it was, I remember walking up to the pyramids and being like, I've read about you. Like, I'm like,
I
there's a
saw you in the
movie.
history
There
book.
is a movie, Prince of Egypt. Like, and I am
Yeah.
standing right in front of these like pyramids. And I just remember being like, what is my life? This is amazing. This is worth it.
Wow, that is very, very cool.
Yeah.
I was literally just talking with the last person who also talked about Beyonce. We talked about Prince of Egypt too.
Uh,
What a movie! That was a great
Whitney
movie.
Houston. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
The soundtrack is great.
Oh my gosh, yes. And the backgrounds and everything.
Oh,
What are you most
beautiful.
excited about for the future of like the animation industry from what you've seen so far?
Sure. Yeah. You know, uh, I just got here, but I think the opening of or the willingness for the industry to expand what type of artists they allow into.
Ooh, what do you mean by
I
that?
just kind of the diversity to the types of stories being told. I'm also really like I'm really excited for like you to enter into the animation industry because you uh I just vibe with how you hustle and
Oh,
you're so
thanks.
entrepreneurial and I'm like that we need people like that. We need people like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Um
I appreciate that.
and then so I'm just really excited for the type of stories that will be told. Hopefully um the industry expands or opens the door even more instead of like, oh, we
Maybe
open it,
we'll
I'll
just
close.
go, maybe we'll just go do our own thing. I don't know. At
Yeah,
this point, it's
yeah,
just like, we don't need you. I'll see you later. I don't know.
yeah.
I
I
hope
think
that happens. I don't know. I don't like fighting for it because if we keep fighting for it, like, by the time we get there, I'll be dead. I'll be way dead. Oh
So
my God.
tired. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is a very interesting next 20 years of like it kind of falls on the backs of the now, the people who are breaking in now.
it's like, don't mess
Because
this up.
in 20 years we will be in the seats of power.
Yeah,
Um
that's the thing. Like, I keep saying this, but this is why I wanted to do this series because,
yeah,
like, literally, we're next. Can you
we're
believe
next.
that?
We're
Oh my
next.
God, we dictate, like, and you know how, like, I was talking about this in another interview. Like, when you grow up, you kind of forget how it was to be, like,
Yeah,
back then, like, or be a kid, or, like, be
right.
1 year into the animation industry. We should never forget that. We should just because it's easy to like grow up and then be like, ah, we're big adults now. We don't need
Yeah.
children.
Okay, I'm
But
gonna
that's
throw
not
this
true.
question at you.
Oh,
Or maybe
oh,
not at you, but like to your
um,
future interviewees.
okay.
Um, you should ask the question to those who have been really established and are kind of in the seats of power. You should ask
Mhm.
them, what have you forgotten? What, like, how have you
Ooh,
forgotten?
writing it down. Okay.
Have you forgotten what it was like starting out, and what were those lessons that you kind of forgotten, or that
Ooh.
you know, flip that table, because I think
Yes. Okay.
you can remind them. You can remind them via a question that they need to answer.
I guarantee you, the next one I will be using that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a very good question. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? Like you just time
I would
travel?
be, I mean, I
I
would be
would be
very
like,
fascinated to be like, oh yeah, you just said that. Are you gonna
"Mhm.
do it?
Yeah. Oh my God. Or like watching like old videos of yourself, like with the light in your eyes, and you're like, I hope that didn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We made it to the last question. Look at
Oh,
this.
woo.
Awesome. What is something that you thought was scary that you were able to overcome or get through?
Yeah. Um, I think switching careers was the most recent scary thing that I've just walked through. And it was for sure scary because my livelihood was on the line. And at the same time, because the way that my family story has played out, my livelihood also deeply impacts my family's livelihood. They depend on me. And then so if I messed it up, it not only messes up my life, but messes up their lives. And so I was really scared of like, okay, I really want to do this, but is this the right thing? Is it the right step? Is this the right risk? Is it the right time? All those questions. And there came to a point where I'm like, I will never get an answer to most of those questions. Um, and I looked back to my mom and dad, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna do it. And they were like, go do it. And
Oh,
I
that's really
was like,
nice.
okay, then I'm gonna go do it. I'm afraid, but I think for me, this is the right step. And I don't want to get to 40, 50 and be like, ah, I wish I took that step. And so, yeah,
Wow, that's
and I
really,
did
really
it.
cool. Yeah. How do you feel? Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess I asked you how you felt in lots of different ways already, but
Yeah.
man, what a journey that you're
Yeah.
just starting. Ooh. Yeah, this has been. Oh, did it cut out? Is my internet? Oh no, my internet. So the Zoom thing just cut off, but luckily we were right at the end, so it's totally
Nice.
fine. Do you remember what was going on?
I don't know. We were just vibing.
Okay, cool. Let's just continue. Okay. Anyway, like this is so much fun. I'm so excited for like whoever you turn out to be or whatever you get to do or even if like you switch into art to something else like oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I can't wait to see. It's going to
Oh,
be
thank you.
amazing.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey so far. I'm super new. Here we go.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have any can you share your contact info or like places that people can find your work?
Yeah. Well, my phone number is, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you could find me on
Your home address,
Instagram.
please?
Yeah. My Instagram is at otristan. And yeah, I'm pretty active there. And then my website is on there as well, tristancabral.com. But yeah, if you want to message me or whatever, Instagram is the best bet because
Great.
I'm a slave to Instagram.
Yeah, I'm trying to get off of it too. It's so hard. Yeah, do
Yeah.
you have any last thoughts? Anything that you'd like to say?
No, this was really fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Great.
having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Now we're gonna wave bye to the audience. Goodbye, audience.
Bye.
Bye.